Good morning, first years, and we're starting a new topic today, and that topic is called patterns. And I'm sure you all have an instinctive idea of what a pattern is, but let's start by just writing down a definition, a maths definition for a pattern. So, a pattern is a set of numbers or objects or diagrams that occur in a predictable manner. So a pattern, the point here is that we can predict what will happen next, is a set or a list of numbers, objects, pictures, anything really that occurs in a predictable manner. In a predictable manner. So, apologies for my writing, my hands are a bit cold this morning. So the important thing here is that we can tell what will come next. Let's look at an example of some patterns. When we start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what comes next? You all know, right? Next is 6, 7, 8, etc. What if I had a different pattern? So that's a really easy pattern to do. What if I was going backwards? 9, 10, 8. What comes next? I think you can all guess it's going to be 7, of course, because we're counting backwards in a predictable fashion. We can also count, not in the normal way that we do, but jumping certain amounts, like if I go 5, 10, 15, 20, etc., 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 what comes next? 25, 30. We know that it's 5 more. So this is something that humans are very good at. We're very good at pattern matching. Patterns don't have to be numerical. What if I had triangle, circle, triangle, circle, triangle, circle? What comes next? Well, after every circle I should have a triangle. Okay, so that's the idea of a pattern. Now I'd like you to pause the video and can you write down a pattern of your own? I'm going to ask you on Wednesday when I see you in person what kind of patterns you guys came up with. Right.
Attention please for Laura or Catherine. Please come to reception. That's Laura or Catherine to reception, please.
There are different types of patterns that we want to learn about in maths in particular, and the first type of patterns that we're going to be learning about are called repeating patterns. So you'll see these on the walls of tiles or anything artistic, really. In fact, this is a repeating pattern, isn't it? So the triangle circle is repeating over and over again. Let's take a look at a 6-block repeating pattern. So a 6-block repeating pattern is made up of colored blocks as shown. So no, I'm just going to write down the color of the block, okay? So the first block is blue. You guys can actually color these in your notes copies if you like, followed by green, red, then green again. So just because it happened once in this pattern, we can get repeats. I didn't do a good job here. Red again. And the final one is yellow. So sorry, I kind of squished this in. I didn't lay it out great. So we have blue, green, red, yellow. And then it will go back to the beginning and go blue, green, red, yellow again. So it repeats every 6. That's what we were told in the question, that it's a 6-block repeating pattern. So we know what's going to come next. So if the pattern continued, here's the question that will go with it. If the pattern continues, what colour would the following blocks be? The 8th block, the 12th block, just make sure you can see that, you can. The 12th block, the 14th block, and now I have a challenging question, the 106th block. So how do we answer a question like this? Well, we know that it's a repeating pattern, so something that we can do is make a table. So the block number and its colour. And I'm just going to use a single letter for the colour as we go through these now. So we can see my first block is blue. My second block is green. My third block is red. Fourth is green. Fifth is red. Sixth is yellow. And then it's repeating this pattern again. So the 7th one will be blue. The 8th one will be green. The 9th one will be red. The 10th one will be green. After red comes green. The 11th one will be red. The 12th one will be yellow. Oh, sorry. I write down 6 there. Yellow. Okay, I've run out of space there, so maybe I'll just continue over here. The 13th one, back to blue again. The 14th one, back to green. And now I have the answers to the first 3 questions here. The 8th block will be green. So I've gone through my 6 and then 7, 8, I'm back to green again. But I can see it from my table as well. The 8th one is green. The 12th block we can see here is yellow. I write down the full word for our answers here. Yellow. And the 14th block, I've gone through 6 twice, 13, 14, and I've landed on green again. Now that's easy enough to do, right? But what about this question? I certainly don't want to be writing out this table 106 times. And what if I asked you about the 1000th one? So we need to answer a couple of questions. The first one is, how long does it take the pattern to repeat? And the answer was even in the question, it repeats every 6 blocks. So it takes 6 blocks for it to repeat. And this is called the period. Period means a length of time. Now that's not something you need to know in first year, but I'm just mentioning it now because it comes up a lot in maths later. So it's good to have that word in our minds. And the second question is, what is the remainder? When I divide by 6. So what do I mean there? Well, remember when we were looking at the 8th block? I'm going to answer this question. If I have 8 divided by 6, of course I can write it as a fraction, but that's not what I'm interested in. We know that it goes in once with a remainder of 2.
Attention please, will Ava Newman please come to reception? That's Ava Newman to reception, please.
So hopefully you remember doing this in primary school. Rather than getting a decimal, we'd have a remainder of 2. Now, if we go back to our pattern here, and we count and see what the second block is, that was green. The second block matching my remainder of 2 was green, and my 8th block was also green. Okay, so my remainder is 2. The remainder is 2. The second block in my pattern is green. So therefore, the 8th block is green. Does this always work? Actually, yes, it does. This is exactly how we do it. So if I look at the 12th block, what happened there? Well, 12 divided by 6 is, well, it goes in evenly, 2 with no remainder. My remainder is 0. So what does that mean? Well, a remainder of 0 is the same as the remainder of 6. So when you have a remainder of 0, and the remainder is equal to 0, look at the last block, the 6th block. And the 6th block was yellow. So therefore, the 12th block should be yellow. And then if we look back at our table here, we can see that indeed the 12th block was yellow, and the 6th block was yellow, and the 18th block was yellow. And anything that has a remainder of 0, where 6 goes in evenly, will be the last block. Let's check it with the 14th one before we answer the last question. So my 14th block, 14 divided by 6, goes in twice with a remainder of 2. The second block is green, so therefore my 14th block should be green as well. And check our previous answer, and we can see that yes, the 14th block was green. So now we can answer part D, the 106th block. Okay, the 106th block. So 106th, all we have to do is 106 divided by 6. 6 into 10 goes once, remainder 4. 6 into 46 goes 7, remainder 4. So the remainder is 4. My remainder is 4. So that means the 4th block was, if I look back here to my original pattern, my 4th block was green. My 4th block was green. So therefore, my 3 little dots here means therefore. Therefore, my 106th block is also green, which I can do. Now, if you feel like writing out the whole table to double check that, you can, but we can trust this answer. You just have to be able to find the remainder when you do division. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to practice with some of these types of questions for homework, especially writing out the table just to get used to that idea, but keep this idea of the period and the remainder in your mind as well. Okay, thank you.